Have you ever been home alone at night and heard something that made your blood run cold? That sound you can't explain. Tonight, I'm sharing 3 absolutely terrifying experiences from people who thought they were alone, but weren't. These stories will make you double-check your locks. Trust me. So turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and whatever you do, don't watch this alone. Story number 1 comes from Sarah, who was 19 at the time. It was a Friday night in October, and her parents had gone away for the weekend to visit her grandmother. Sarah was thrilled she'd have the whole house to herself. She ordered pizza, queued up some movies, and settled in for a perfect night alone. Or so she thought. Around 9 p.m., Sarah heard it for the first time. A soft tapping sound coming from upstairs. Tap, tap, tap. She paused her movie and listened. Nothing. She figured it was just the house settling. Old houses do that, right? She hit play again. But 10 minutes later, there it was again. Tap, tap, tap. This time, it sounded like it was coming from her parents' bedroom. Sarah's heart started racing. She grabbed her phone and slowly walked upstairs. The hallway was dark except for the nightlight near the bathroom. She pushed open her parents' bedroom door. Empty. The window was closed. Everything looked normal. She laughed nervously at herself and went back downstairs. But as soon as she sat down, the tapping started again. Only this time, it was faster, and it was coming from right above her head. That's when Sarah remembered. The attic. Her house had an attic access in the hallway ceiling, and she suddenly realized the tapping was coming from up there. Her parents never went up there. It was just storage for old boxes and Christmas decorations. Sarah stood frozen in her living room, staring at the ceiling. She could hear movement now. Not tapping anymore, but shuffling, like someone walking around up there. She immediately called police, whispering into the phone. The operator told her to leave the house immediately. Sarah grabbed her keys and ran to her car. She sat there, shaking, watching her house until the police arrived 15 minutes later. 2 officers went inside with flashlights. Sarah watched from her car as they searched the house. Then she saw their flashlights in the attic window, that tiny window she'd never paid attention to. 5 minutes later, the officers came out. One of them looked pale. They found fresh footprints in the attic dust. A blanket, empty food wrappers, and the attic hatch. It had been opened from the inside. Someone had been living in Sarah's attic. The police estimated for at least a week, maybe longer, that he came down while the family slept to use the bathroom and take food from the kitchen. They never caught whoever it was they'd escaped through the attic window before the police arrived. Sarah never stayed in that house alone again. And honestly, I don't blame her. Story number 2 is from Marcus, a college student who was house-sitting for his uncle during spring break. The house was in a quiet neighborhood, pretty isolated, and surrounded by woods on 3 sides. Marcus thought it would be the perfect place to catch up on some studying. He arrived Sunday afternoon, got the keys, and settled in. Everything seemed fine, until Tuesday night. Marcus was studying in the living room around 10 p.m. when the landline rang. Yeah, his uncle still had a landline. Marcus answered. Nothing but silence. Then, breathing. Heavy breathing. He hung up immediately. 5 minutes later, it rang again. This time, a voice, low and distorted. I can see you. Marcus felt his stomach drop. He looked at the windows. The curtains were all open. He was completely visible from outside. He quickly ran around, closing all the curtains and blinds. The phone rang again. He didn't answer. It kept ringing and ringing. Finally, he unplugged it from the wall. The house went silent. Marcus grabbed a knife from the kitchen and sat on the couch, every sense on high alert. That's when his cell phone buzzed. Unknown number. The text message read, "Why did you close the curtains? I liked watching you." Marcus's hands were shaking so badly he could barely call police. The operator told Marcus to lock himself in a room with a window and wait for police. He ran upstairs to the bathroom and locked the door. He could hear sounds downstairs. Footsteps. Someone was in the house. Marcus was hyperventilating. trying to stay quiet. Then he heard it, someone trying the bathroom door handle, slowly twisting it back and forth. Marcus backed into the bathtub, knife raised, ready to fight for his life. Suddenly, everything went silent. Minutes felt like hours. Then he heard sirens. The police had arrived. Officers searched the entire house and found something chilling. The back door had been unlocked the whole time. In the kitchen, there was a chair positioned at the window, the one facing the living room where Marcus had been studying. Someone had been watching him for who knows how long. But here's the worst part. They found muddy footprints, leading from the back door, through the kitchen, up the stairs, and stopping right outside the bathroom door where Marcus was hiding. Police never found who did it. No fingerprints, no DNA, nothing useful. The calls came from a burner phone that was never recovered. Marcus packed up his stuff that same night and never went back. His uncle sold the house 6 months later. Marcus still doesn't like being alone at night, and he never, ever leaves his curtains open after dark. Okay, story number 3. This one's from Emily, and honestly, it still gives me chills. Emily was a babysitter, 17 years old, and she'd been watching the Henderson kids for about 6 months. 2 sweet kids, ages 5 and 7. The parents were going to a company dinner and wouldn't be back until midnight. Emily had done this dozens of times before, but this night was different. Emily put the kids to bed around 8:30. She read them a story, tucked them in, and came back downstairs to watch TV. Around 9:15, the phone rang, the landline. Emily answered. A man's voice, polite and calm, asked, "Have you checked on the children?" Emily was confused. "Who is this?" she asked. The line went dead. Emily felt uneasy but figured it was a wrong number. She went upstairs, peeked into the kids' room. They were sleeping soundly. She went back downstairs. 20 minutes later, the phone rang again. Same voice. "Have you checked on the children?" Emily's heart was pounding now. "Stop calling here," she shouted and slammed the phone down. She immediately called the police. The operator told her if the person called again, to try to keep them on the line so they could trace it. Emily was scared but agreed. Sure enough, 10 minutes later, the phone rang again. Emily answered, her voice shaking. "What do you want?" The man's voice came through, and this time, it was different. Sinister. "I asked you a question. Have you checked on the children?" Emily kept him talking, her hands trembling. "They're fine. They're sleeping," she said, trying to sound calm. The man laughed softly. "Are they?" he said. "How do you know?" Emily was about to respond when her call waiting beeped. It was the police. She clicked over. The operator's voice was urgent, almost panicked. "Emily, listen to me very carefully. Get out of the house right now. The calls are coming from inside the house." The upstairs phone. Emily dropped the phone and ran for the stairs, screaming the children's names. She burst into their bedroom. Both kids were still asleep, safe, in their beds. But the phone on the nightstand between their beds was off the hook. Emily grabbed both children and ran downstairs, out the front door, just as police cars came screaming up the street. Officers rushed inside with guns drawn. They searched every room, every closet. In the parents' bedroom, they found the window wide open. Someone had climbed in from the roof. They'd been hiding in the closet the entire time, using the upstairs phone to call the downstairs line. On the bed, they found a note, written in red marker. It just said, "You should have checked on them." The intruder had escaped through the same window they came in, leaving no trace except that note. Police suspected they'd been watching the house, knew the family's schedule, knew when the babysitter would be there alone with the kids. Emily never babysat again. The Henderson family moved away within a month. The children were safe, thank God, but the psychological impact that stays with you forever. So there you have it. 3 absolutely terrifying stories about being home alone or thinking you were alone. These are real experiences from real people, and they remind us that sometimes the scariest things aren't in horror movies. They're in our own homes. So tonight, when you're lying in bed, and you hear that unexplained sound, maybe it's nothing. Or maybe you should check. If these stories freaked you out, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more true horror stories. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever experienced something creepy while home alone? I read every single comment. And hey, maybe your story will be in the next video. Stay safe out there, everyone. And seriously, lock your doors.